Welcome, deep divers. Get ready, because we're about to plunge into the 6th season of the X-Files. I mean, this is a show that didn't just define a genre, it totally redefined what science fiction television could even be.
Absolutely.
You've handed us a truly incredible stack of source material, and our mission today is, well, to unpack all the surprising twists, the dramatic turns, and those really pivotal behind-the-scenes shifts that made Season 6 well, not just unique, but kind of utterly transformative for Mulder and Scully.
A real turning point.
We're zeroing in on a critical 9-month window here, basically November 1998 through May 1999.
Yeah.
And this period, it marks such a profound turning point. We see everything from like the intricate unraveling of the big alien mythology arc.
Right, the core story.
To these monumental production changes that fundamentally altered the show's very feel. So what does this all mean for, one of TV's most beloved and influential series?
Well, this season, it really does stand out as a juncture, a crossroads, maybe.
Right.
We'll explore how it picked up directly from the 1998 feature.
Or movie, yeah.
Looking at Mulder and Scully's dramatically changing roles within the FBI, and crucially, the swift, really dramatic demise of the shadowy Syndicate.
That was huge.
Oh, it was. And what's truly fascinating is how the narrative was kind of forced to evolve, almost on the fly, it feels like sometimes, while the show itself was undergoing these massive structural changes behind the scenes.
Prepare yourselves, deep divers, because we're going to discover exactly why this particular season left so many fans fiercely divided. Some feeling like it was a real shift from the show they loved.
Definitely heard that criticism. X-Files Lite, some called it.
Right. Yet it still managed to achieve significant critical acclaim for some of its most inventive and, frankly, daring episodes. It's really a study in adaptation, isn't it, for both the characters and the creators?
It really is.
Okay, so let's dive right into the heart of Season 6. It kicked off November 8, 1998, ran all the way through May 16, 1999. A full 22 episodes.
Standard season like back then.
And here's a critical piece of context, something you almost have to keep front of mind. It was a direct continuation of the 1998 X-Files feature film.
Fight the Future.
Exactly. Which, incredibly, was originally envisioned as the culmination of the entire series. That was supposed to be it.
Yeah, the big finale. Wrap it all up.
Think about that. The movie was a huge commercial success, made, over $189 million worldwide. Big numbers.
Massive. Especially for a TV show movie back then.
And the show itself was just such a cash cow for Fox. I mean, huge ratings, merchandise, everything. So despite the film being designed as the grand finale after Season 5...
Which ended on quite the cliffhanger itself.
Oh, yeah. But the network ordered 2 additional seasons. Not just 1, but 2 more. So this wasn't just a simple continuation. It was like a revival, demanding totally new creative directions for a story that, in many ways, was supposed to have reached its definitive endpoint.
That context is absolutely foundational. You really can't understand Season 6 without it. The decision to press on beyond the film meant the writers faced this unprecedented challenge. Where do you possibly take an alien mythology that was, by its own design, reaching its climax in a big screen movie?
Right. The movie was meant to answer the big questions, wasn't it?
Exactly. For 5 seasons, the build-up was so meticulously crafted towards this cinematic event. It was intended to cap off the grand government-level conspiracy. But suddenly, you've got 2 more seasons greenlit. The creative team is just confronted with this daunting task of expanding a universe that had, in its own storytelling logic, reached its planned conclusion.
Talk about pressure.
Immense. And this period was immediately defined by a monumental shift for Mulder and Scully. They were separated from the X-Files division. Pulled right out. And this wasn't like a minor reshuffle or some temporary assignment change. No, this was fundamental. A core alteration to their mission, their setting. They were pulled away from the very cases, the very office, the basement office. That had defined their partnership.
That iconic office.
Right. It immediately generated tension and conflict. It posed this immediate, urgent question for the audience. How are they going to continue their work, their profound quest, if their dedicated division doesn't exist for them anymore? Who are they if they're not in the X-Files?
And as a direct consequence, really, of this whole post-film continuation thing, one of the biggest, most impactful bombshells of Season 6 is this accelerated focus on the demise of the Syndicate.
Yeah, the shadow government.
An elusive group, the architects of the deep-seated conspiracy. They'd been pulling every string for years, orchestrating the cover-up of ET existence. Their power felt almost insurmountable, didn't it?
Totally. They were everywhere, behind everything, it seemed.
Yet this season, it all culminates so dramatically in those 2 mythology episodes, 2 fathers and 1 son. They effectively dismantle their entire established power structure. It's like a narrative gut punch that fundamentally alters the show's core identity.
You've absolutely nailed it. If we connect this to the bigger picture, dismantling the Syndicate was monumental, almost cataclysmic for the series' structure.
Yeah.
For 5 seasons, they were the primary antagonists, the hidden hand behind almost every major mythological event, the very force Mulder and Scully were constantly fighting against. They seemed like this omnipresent, untouchable, human-controlled power.
The cigarette-smoking man being the face of it, often.
Right. So their fall wasn't just a major plot point. It necessitated a complete redefinition of the show's core conflict, and by extension, a whole new direction for Mulder and Scully's fight. The established rules of the game were just thrown out the window.
So how did we see that play out, like, specifically?
Well, we see it through several specific, often really shocking plot developments. First, there's the alien-human hybrid.
Cassandra Spick?
Exactly. Jeffrey Spender's mother. She's horrifyingly revealed as the perfected embodiment of 50 years of Syndicate work. An alien-human hybrid specifically designed to trigger colonization.
So she wasn't just a victim, she was the key.
She was their ultimate weapon, essentially, a living key to their end game for Earth. And this forces this profound reevaluation for Mulder and Scully, right? What happens when the very thing you're trying to prevent is literally walking among you, a product of decades of this insidious human experimentation.
And involving their own families, like Spender's mom.
It shows the horrific lengths they'd go to. Then, adding another layer of moral and strategic complexity, the season introduces the rebel aliens.
The faceless ones.
Yes. The ones who actively mutilate their faces to prevent black oil infection. It's this grotesque form of self-preservation, showing how ruthless they are. They're portrayed as this powerful, violent force against colonization, effectively battling the Syndicate's plans.
So suddenly the aliens aren't just one monolithic bad guy group.
Exactly. It creates this unexpected, maybe uneasy alliance of circumstance, or at least a common enemy for our heroes. It completely shatters the previous black and white portrayal of alien threats, introducing this whole new internal alien conflict, much more complex.
And what about the human players? How did their fates tie into the Syndicate's fall?
Well, the Syndicate's unraveling brings these dire, really personal consequences for characters we know, showing the high stakes. Diana Fowley, played by Mimi Rogers, and Jeffrey Spender, Chris Owens, they transition into these critical recurring roles, deeply intertwined with the downfall.
Cowley's betrayal of Mulder, that hurt.
Oh, deeply painful, especially given their history. She ends up aiding the cigarette-smoking man. And Cassandra Spender herself meets this devastating end, incinerated by the rebel aliens.
Wow.
A really stark demonstration of the rebels' ruthless efficiency. They're just eliminating all threats to their cause. And Jeffrey Spender faces a purported death. We can talk about the purported later, maybe at the hands of the cigarette-smoking man.
His own father, supposedly.
Which adds deeply personal stakes to the conspiracy's end. It's like the old guard cleaning house, ruthlessly. Plus, Marita Covarrubias, L'Oreal Holden's character, she returns.
Right, I remember her.
And reveals her disturbing history of being subjected to black oil vaccine tests. It just further exposes the Syndicate's extensive human experimentation and the immense personal cost of their long, brutal reign.
So the climax of all this, the big meeting.
The climax.
Yeah.
The Syndicate's carefully planned rendezvous, where they expected colonization to begin, it's dramatically thwarted by the rebel aliens. They just swoop in, and it leads to their mass incineration.
Wiped out.
Pretty much. And this wasn't just, a plot point. It was a narrative reset button, literally clearing the board of the primary antagonists we'd known for 5 years. It created this monumental power vacuum that would have to be filled by future threats, forcing the show into entirely new territory.
Okay, so even with the Syndicate, the very embodiment of the conspiracy seemingly gone, the threat doesn't just vanish, it adapts, it evolves.
Like a virus.
Exactly. We see Agent Mulder appearing before an FBI panel, right? Detailing his experiences in Antarctica from the movie, basically giving his big testimony about the whole alien conspiracy as he understands it.
Laying it all out there.
Yet, despite everything he's uncovered, despite these monumental revelations he brings, he's denied reassignment to the XFiles division.
Crushing.
And to twist the knife even further, that division, his life's work, is then handed over to Jeffrey Spender and Diana Fowley. I mean, talk about a profound reversal of fortune. Fighting this battle for so long, sacrificing so much, only need to have your home base handed to people who, at least initially, seem to be working directly against you.
That administrative move is incredibly impactful. It forces Mulder and Scully to operate largely outside official channels, which paradoxically kind of maintains the show's core outsider theme, even though their division is technically reopened.
Huh. That's a good point. They're still rebels, just without the basement office.
Exactly. It's a clever narrative maneuver to keep the spirit of the X-Files alive, their rogue investigations, even without them physically being in the X-Files office. But the narrative doesn't just sit on that. It quickly introduces new, immediate threats that exist beyond the old Syndicate structure. The conspiracy, you learn it's like a hydra. Cut off one head.
Others pop up. So what were these new threats?
Well, the early episodes, they waste no time at all. They introduce a new alien in Phoenix, Arizona, a direct follow-on from the movie's events. This leads to rediscovering the alien virus in Gibson Praise, that gifted young telepath.
Right, the kid who could read minds.
Yeah. And this escalates really quickly when Assistant Director Walter Skinner, their stalwart ally, is mysteriously poisoned by a nanorobot infection. Yeah. Like microscopic machines in his blood.
Whoa, sci-fi stuff.
Totally. And the shocking culprit is revealed to be Alex Krycek.
Oh, Krycek. Always Krycek.
The unpredictable rogue agent. He controls this debilitating nanotechnology in Skinner's system to achieve his own, often nefarious goals. This raises that crucial question. If the Syndicate is gone, who else is pulling the strings? The threats are now more fragmented, personal, maybe technologically advanced, arguably even more elusive because their source isn't centralized anymore.
Okay, so nanobots. What else?
This is an artifact.
Yes, the metallic artifact. The season's mythology arc culminates with the introduction of this new, utterly mysterious element. It's discovered on a beach in Côte d'Ivoire, West Africa.
A long way from D.C.
A very long way. And Mulder's examination of rubbings from this object, like trying to decipher it, triggers severe headaches and shockingly telepathic abilities.
Powers. Yeah, but it pushes him into this aggravated delusional state. It's not like a superpower he can control. It's damaging him. This new element introduces a raw, physical threat to Mulder himself and implies this much older, more fundamental aspect to the alien presence. Something primordial. The source material implies there's almost an ancient code embedded within it, one that modern human minds just aren't equipped to comprehend without severe consequences.
So Mulder's basically losing his mind.
He's in a really bad way, incapacitated, his mind fractured by the artifact's influence. And this leads to Scully taking decisive independent action.
Scully steps up.
Big time.
Yeah.
She travels to Côte d'Ivoire alone,
yeah,
driven by her scientific curiosity, naturally, but also her deep concern for her partner. And she makes this monumental discovery, a massive, partially buried spacecraft on the beach.
A spaceship.
A huge one. And this climactic setup for the next season isn't just a cliffhanger. It suggests this new, perhaps way more ancient, layer to the extraterrestrial mystery that extends far beyond the Syndicate's human-controlled conspiracy. It powerfully implies that the threat isn't just governmental or political anymore, it's cosmic, reaching back potentially to the very origins of life on Earth. The show, in its final moments of Season 6, pivots from human complicity to something, well, far more vast, existential, and truly alien.
Now, here's a detail that profoundly shaped not just the plot, but the entire identity of the X-Files. Season 6 was the first to be filmed in Los Angeles.
Right. Huge change.
This was a monumental shift after 5 seasons steeped in that moody, often rainy, almost gothic atmosphere of Vancouver, British Columbia.
That's signature look.
Our sources specify that the beginning, the very first episode of the season, was also the very first one shot in sunny California. Just imagine the tectonic plates shifting under the feet of the crew, let alone the palpable change in scenery for the audience.
Yeah.
This wasn't just a move, it was a cultural transplant for the show.
You're absolutely right. This relocation wasn't just a logistical headache, though I'm sure it was that too.
Oh, I bet.
It was a seismic shift for the show's identity and production. It impacted everything from its visual aesthetic, the production budget, its very soul, maybe, and the working lives of absolutely everyone involved.
So why did they move? What was the main driver?
Well, this momentous relocation was largely instigated by David Duchovny, Mulder himself.
Really?
Yeah. He wanted to increase opportunities for movie work in Hollywood, which makes sense. And, crucially, he wanted to be closer to his wife at the time, Tay Leone, who was based in Los Angeles.
Okay, personal reasons, career reasons.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Totally understandable. Now, series creator Chris Carter reportedly expressed opposition. He apparently cited his deeply held preference for that unique Vancouver atmosphere, believing it really imbued the show with its signature mood.
The rain, the forests, the fog.
Exactly, that gloom. But director Kim Manners and Gillian Anderson, while maybe less vocal than Duchovny, were described as supportive of the move.
So mixed feelings among the core team.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it wasn't really a creative decision made solely by the showrunners or the core cast. Fox Network officials, recognizing the immense star power and economic leverage of Duchovny.
The lead actor on their biggest hit.
Precisely. They made the final, decisive call to move production to California, which really highlights the powerful influence a lead actor's desires can have on a mega-hit show, doesn't it?
Definitely. So how did this change the look and feel? You mentioned that first shot.
Oh, yeah. The visual impact was immediate, deliberate, almost confrontational for longtime fans, maybe. Our sources tell us that the very first shot of the season, a long look directly into a bright sun shining on a barren desert, was a deliberate visual statement, announcing the show's arrival in Southern California.
No more rain.
No more rain. It wasn't subtle. It was this bold, almost defiant declaration of a new visual landscape, trading those shadowy forests for harsh sunlight and, desert landscapes sometimes. And the move also necessitated a largely new crew.
Ah, right. The Vancouver team couldn't just pack up and move.
Not easily, no. That Vancouver crew was deeply integrated with the show's specific working methods, its whole rhythm. So this new Los Angeles-based crew spent an astonishing 5 weeks.
5 weeks? Doing what?
Just receiving, unpacking, and meticulously cataloging all the filming material, props, set pieces, files, everything that was shipped down from their Vancouver counterparts.
Wow, just getting organized took 5 weeks.
Think about that. 5 weeks just to get organized and understand the intricacies of this massive production before a single new scene could even be considered. This transition was immense. It speaks to the sheer scale of the operation and the kind of institutional knowledge that had to be transferred, almost by osmosis, to an entirely fresh team.
And here's where we uncover this truly remarkable twist that I think few might expect. You'd naturally assume, okay, move to Hollywood, capital of film and TV, bigger budget, right? More resources, more chances for grand cinematic moments.
This seems logical.
But our sources reveal the exact opposite. Bruce Harwood, who played Byers from The Lone Gunman.
Yeah, good old Byers.
He candidly noted that the cost per episode doubled, even tripled.
Doubled or tripled? Wow, why?
Because of the vastly different exchange rate between Canadian and U.S. dollars, filming in Canada was just way cheaper.
Ah, the economics, that makes sense. That's a staggering increase for any production, let alone one already known for its ambitious scope and intricate special effects.
Exactly. So this immediately prompts a crucial question, doesn't it? How did such a drastic price increase impact the show's creative output, especially given its reputation for those elaborate sequences and a certain visual ambition?
Right. Do they have to cut corners?
Well, according to writer Vince Gilligan,
Breaking Bad Vince Gilligan.
the very same, a key writer on XFiles then,
Yeah.
he explicitly detailed the financial crunch they faced. He stated directly that everything in Los Angeles is more expensive across the board. Simple as that.
So less bang for their buck.
Way less. And this meant a direct, often painful reduction in the money available for elaborate special effects, which had been a hallmark of so many classic Monster of the Week episodes and even the mythology stuff.
Can you give examples?
Gilligan specifically lamented losing out on scenarios like nuclear submarines descending through the ice and trains exploding in the middle of the woods, like really specific, high-budget action and spectacle they just couldn't afford anymore.
Wow. So that implies a fundamental shift away from those high-concept, effects-driven monster episodes that, let's face it, many fans cherished. They had to get more creative with character and dialogue, maybe?
Seems like it. And this combination of financial pressure and the new, brighter environment led to a significant point of contention for many longtime viewers. Many fans quickly accused the show of what they termed Hollywood agonizing the series.
Hollywood agonizing, what do they mean by that?
Well, it included, quite noticeably, adding more prominent guest stars, which is kind of a natural consequence of being in LA with its deeper talent pool, right?
Sure, more actors available.
But more critically, fans perceived a shift towards making plots simpler. Maybe more broadly enjoyable for larger, potentially less dedicated audiences, like an effort to maintain mainstream appeal.
Ah, the accessibility versus depth argument.
Exactly. Space.com specifically highlighted a key loss for fans, noting that they loved the moody ambiance filming around Vancouver lent the series, that unique, almost gothic atmosphere.
Which the sixth season reportedly lacked in its brighter, sunnier Los Angeles setting.
Right. It suggests this perceived loss of the show's distinctive visual identity, that atmospheric dread replaced by something glossier, maybe less gritty, and certainly different. The show's visual signature had changed, and with it, for some fans, its soul. Now, a show as complex and intricately layered as The X-Files doesn't just happen, right? It relies on this army of brilliant minds behind the scenes. Writers, directors, the whole production crew.
Absolutely. It takes a village.
And our sources give us an extensive list of the key players who brought Season 6 to life. Chris Carter, of course, remained the executive producer, the showrunner, still writing a significant 5 episodes, keeping his direct creative oversight.
Still the guiding hand.
Frank Spotnitz was promoted to executive producer. He wrote 5 episodes himself and contributed stories for 2 more, solidifying his absolutely crucial role in shaping the evolving narrative.
Spotnitz was key, especially for the mythology.
Vince Gilligan, now co-executive producer, was incredibly prolific, wrote a remarkable 7 episodes, showcasing his growing influence on the show's narrative and maybe that changing tone we talked about.
7 episodes is a lot for one writer in a season. That's huge.
It really is. And the consistency in that core writing team, despite the massive geographical upheaval, that's a truly notable aspect of this season, isn't it?
It really is. It speaks volumes about the stability of the creative vision, even as the production logistics were just in turmoil.
Who else was writing?
Well, John Shiban was promoted to producer, writing 6 episodes and a story for another, further deepening the bench of experienced, trusted writers. This season also saw new writers join the team, including David Amen, who joined as executive story editor and penned 2 episodes, and Jeffrey Bell, who also wrote 2. Plus, they brought in freelance episodes from Daniel Arkin and Jim Guttridge. So, showing a willingness to bring in fresh perspectives, new voices.
Interesting. And what about Duchovny? Did he write more?
Yes. What's particularly fascinating here is David Duchovny's expanded creative role. He wrote his first episode completely solo, The Unnatural.
Ah, the baseball episode.
That's the one. After having previously collaborated with various writers, including Chris Carter, on 3 earlier episodes, this really reflects a growing creative input from the main cast, allowing their deep insights into the characters they embodied to directly shape the stories.
That's cool, giving the actors more creative control.
And directing.
Who was behind the camera?
The show maintained a strong core of experienced visual storytellers there, too. Kim Manners, a true X-Files veteran.
Yeah. Legend.
Absolute legend. He led the charge with an impressive 7 episodes. Oh. Truly shaping the visual style of the season, adapting it to the new LA environment. Rob Bowman directed 6, another stalwart. Michael Watkins did 3.
Carter directed 2, right?
Yep. Chris Carter himself directed 2 episodes, including Triangle, continuing his direct artistic stamp on the series. And, in another significant sign of evolving cast involvement and trust, David Duchovny made his directorial debut with that critically acclaimed episode he wrote, The Unnatural.
Wow, writer and director on that one.
Yeah, became a real standout of the season. This distribution of directorial duties, including cast members stepping behind the camera, it shows a mature production environment, right?
Right.
Where talent was nurtured from within, given opportunities to expand their roles beyond just acting.
Definitely.
And the inclusion of freelance writers, and even Ken Harley. He was the series' former property master. He wrote an episode.
The prop guy wrote an episode. That's amazing.
Isn't it? It highlights this dynamic and evolving creative environment. Suggests a collaborative spirit where individuals who truly understood the show's inner workings, its unique lore and tone, were empowered to contribute creatively. This breadth of talent, both established and new, was absolutely crucial in navigating the huge changes of the season, from budget cuts to losing familiar locations, and in maintaining the show's overall quality, despite all those pressures. It really demonstrates an adaptation not just of the setting, but of the whole creative process itself.
Okay, let's talk cast. Because, of course, The X-Files is nothing without our beloved agents. David Duchovny as Special Agent Fox Mulder, Gillian Anderson as Special Agent Dana Scully. They continue to anchor the show. Their undeniable chemistry, their contrasting viewpoints, their unwavering partnership. That remained the enduring heart of the series, didn't it?
Absolutely. That dynamic is the show in many ways.
However, an interesting little detail here that maybe hints at the evolving production landscape and the demands placed on the cast. Duchovny only contributed his voice to 1 episode, 3 of a kind.
The Lone Gunman episode.
Right. He wasn't physically in it, which suggests that even the core cast had differing levels of on-set presence, perhaps due to the new production demands and, his broader aspirations that led to the move in the first place.
That detail, while seemingly minor, Yeah, it definitely indicates the production's increased flexibility, perhaps accommodating Duchovny's other commitments, which, as you said, were a key reason for the very move to L.A. But beyond our two leads, the season relied heavily on its established supporting cast to carry the narrative load in this new era, reinforcing that continuity amidst all the change.
Like Skinner.
Absolutely. Mitch Pileggi as assistant director Walter Skinner, he continued to be this central, often tortured figure, constantly caught between his deep loyalty to Mulder and Scully and the unforgiving demands of his superiors within the FBI hierarchy. His moral compass was just frequently tested.
And the cigarette-smoking man. He didn't just disappear when the Syndicate did.
Oh no. William B. Davis, as the cigarette-smoking man, despite the Syndicate's purported demise, remained this looming, enigmatic, and frankly, terrifying presence. His allegiances, his fate, still deeply intertwined with the evolving and now more amorphous mythology. His survival and continued influence really suggested the conspiracy was far from dead.
Some cockroaches just survive anything.
Pretty much. And Nicholas Lea as Alex Krycek, the unpredictable rogue agent.
Ugh, Krycek again.
He returned as a recurring threat, instrumental in Skinner's mysterious poisoning with those nanobots we mentioned. He kept the threat dynamic and often deeply personal for our heroes. His unpredictability was just a constant source of tension and a reminder that old enemies rarely truly disappear.
And what about the new bosses, Spender and Fowley?
Right. Chris Owens as Jeffrey Spender and Mimi Rogers as Diana Fowley. They notably transitioned into also starring roles, which reflects their significantly increased importance in the plot. They take over the X-Files division, serving as these immediate foils and bureaucratic obstacles for Mulder and Scully.
Yeah, they were not friends initially.
No. And their backstories, their complex, often tragic motivations, become critically important to understanding this new phase of the conspiracy. They reveal the human cost of the Syndicate's machinations and provide this bridge between the old guard and whatever new threats were emerging.
Season 6 also brought back some truly fan favorites, didn't it? And introduced a host of compelling new faces, really enriching the show's already expansive universe. The Lone Gunman.
Gotta love the gunman.
Tom Braidwood as Frohike, Dean Haglund as Langley, and Bruce Harwood as Byers. They continued to provide their signature brand of eccentric assistance, often outlandish conspiracy theories, and let's be honest, much-needed comic relief amidst the otherwise serious investigations.
Yeah, their presence always felt like a warm, familiar hug for longtime viewers. Grounded the show in its established universe, offered those moments of levity and specialized, often bizarre knowledge that only they could provide. But the season also strategically expanded its roster of supporting players and brought in a remarkable array of guest talent, really leveraging that move to Los Angeles.
Who else recurred that season?
Well, James Pickens Jr., as Assistant Director Alvin Kirsch, emerged as this new, formidable authority figure within the FBI.
Kirsch was tough.
Yeah, constantly challenging Mulder and Scully, representing a different, more bureaucratic layer of opposition than the Syndicate ever did. Don S. Williams, as the First Elder, further explored the deeper echelons of the FBI hierarchy and the remnants of the conspiracy, showing that even with the Syndicate gone, insidious power structures remained. And Michael McKean's memorable role as Morris Fletcher.
The body swap guy.
Exactly, the man who switches bodies with Mulder in that two-part Dreamland episode. His appearance subtly, yet significantly, underscored the show's willingness to embrace more humorous standalone episodes, a tonal shift we'll definitely delve into more.
Okay, and guest stars. Who were the big ones?
The season really leveraged its new LA base, which offered that deeper, more accessible talent pool. They featured a roster of really powerful guest stars who were integral to both the mythology and the standalone Monster of the Week episodes. Veronica Cartwright as Cassandra Spender, obviously crucial to the Syndicate arc. Her character's devastating transformation was a pivotal plot device, driving much of the mythological conclusion.
Yeah, her performance was amazing.
Jeff Golka, as Gibson Praise, the telepathic child, remained linked to the alien virus, becoming a key figure in the early mythology episodes and a symbol of the new threats emerging post-Syndicate. Laurie Holden, as Marita Covarrubias, returned.
Right, revealing her connection to the experiments.
Yes, revealing her personal, horrifying connection to Syndicate experiments, adding immense emotional weight to the conspiracy's legacy and the price of just being involved. Peter Donat, as William Mulder, Fox's father.
Oh, yeah, that was heartbreaking.
Brought a poignant personal dimension to Fox's family history, connecting him further to the deeper, more ancient alien conspiracy in a really tragic way. Brian Thompson as the alien bounty hunter.
Still terrifying.
Continued to be a terrifying, almost unstoppable recurring alien threat. An imposing enforcer of the colonist agenda, reminding viewers that the extraterrestrial danger was far from over, even if the human conspiracy was changing. And Floyd Westerman as Albert Hosteen.
Connecting Mulder to the artifact.
Exactly. Connected Mulder to his Navajo roots and that mysterious metallic artifact, linking ancient indigenous wisdom to modern extraterrestrial mysteries, providing a kind of spiritual anchor for Mulder's quest.
That's quite a list.
It is. And these varied guest appearances didn't just enrich the narrative, allowing for deeper exploration of the lore and character relationships. They also clearly reflected that Hollywoodizing strategy we talked about.
More recognizable faces.
Yeah. By featuring more recognizable faces, the show potentially drew more mainstream attention. New viewers, maybe. Showcased the breadth of acting talent available in their new production home and added that layer of accessible star power.
All right, let's talk about some specific episodes. The mythology arc episodes, they're marked with a double dagger in our source material, and they really are the backbone of Season 6, aren't they? Driving the overarching narrative, setting the stage for what's to come.
Absolutely essential viewing for understanding the big picture.
The beginning kicks us off, directly following the film. Mulder and Scully hunting an alien in Arizona. But then, bam, that devastating blow. They lose the X-Files division to Spender and Fowley. It's just an immediate, jarring power shift. Forces our heroes onto this new, unofficial, and far more challenging path right away.
Yeah, that opening episode immediately establishes the new, challenging status quo. Forces them to adapt, operate outside the lines from the very outset. And the mythology episodes this season were particularly critical in transitioning the show beyond its previous long-standing antagonist, the Syndicate.
What were the other key mythology ones? Skinner getting poisoned.
Right, SR-819. That one places a direct and really personal threat on a key ally. Focuses on Skinner being mysteriously poisoned by those nanorobots we mentioned. This new form of alien-derived tech.
Controlled by Krycek.
Controlled by the treacherous Alex Krycek. It creates this urgent life-or-death race against time for Mulder and Scully. They have to identify the poison and the culprit within 24 hours to save Skinner's life. It's classic X-Files race against the clock stuff. Pushes Skinner to his limits, raises the stakes for the agents as they realize the conspiracy is still very much alive, insidious, technologically advanced, even if the Syndicate itself is weakening.
And then the big two-parter.
Two fathers and one son. These are the pivotal two-part episodes. Central to the season's mythological advancements, truly a narrative turning point. Cassandra Spender is dramatically returned, and her very existence as an alien-human hybrid becomes the shocking catalyst for the full exposure of the conspiracy's true depth.
Leading to the Syndicate's fiery end.
Directly. Leads to the shocking and dramatic destruction of the Syndicate by the rebel aliens. We also witness the cigarette-smoking man's desperate, ruthless attempts to manipulate Jeffrey Spender, showcasing those desperate final moves of the old guard as their decades-long plans just unravel in chaos and fire. These episodes weren't just plot movers. They were widely considered some of the most coherent and unbearably tense hours in the series' entire run. Brought a powerful, definitive, and violent conclusion to a major storyline that had defined the show for years.
And the finale. Biogenesis.
Ah, yes, biogenesis. The season finale acts as this profound reset and a new, mysterious beginning. It introduces that fresh, deeply significant element, the metallic artifact from Côte d'Ivoire, believed to be staggering proof of the extraterrestrial origin of all life on Earth.
Whoa, that's a big claim.
Huge. It shifts the stakes from a political conspiracy to something cosmic, almost theological. Mulder becomes severely mentally ill under its powerful influence, experiencing excruciating headaches and, disturbingly, manifesting those telepathic abilities, pushing him into that aggravated delusional state threatening his sanity.
So Mulder's out, Scully takes charge.
Exactly. With Mulder incapacitated, his mind fractured, Scully takes on the solo mission, travels to Africa alone, driven by science and concern for her partner, and makes that monumental discovery. The massive, partially buried spacecraft on the beach. This epic setup for Season 7 isn't just a cliffhanger. It suggests that new, maybe more ancient layer to the mystery beyond the Syndicate. It implies the threat isn't just governmental, it's cosmic. Reaching back to the origins of life, the show pivots right at the end from human complicity to something far more vast, existential, and truly alien.
Now, okay, beyond the mythology, Season 6 saw that noticeable and, like we said, for some fans, quite controversial shift in the tone of its standalone Monster of the Week episodes.
Yeah, definitely different flavor sometimes.
Yeah. We moved quite a bit away from the traditional, often terrifying, scary monsters that defined the early seasons, often leaning into episodes with more romantic undertones, overt humor, or a kind of clever combination of both. This was a significant departure for a show once known primarily for its dark, suspenseful, and often really disturbing atmosphere.
That tonal shift was indeed a direct consequence of the move to LA and the creative decisions that followed, driven in part by that reduced budget for elaborate special effects. With fewer resources for visually stunning monsters, the writers leaned into character interaction, witty dialogue, narrative innovation maybe.
So necessity is the mother of invention.
Perhaps. And this led to some of the season's most acclaimed and conversely most criticized episodes. It was a real mixed bag in terms of reception.
Let's talk about the acclaimed ones first. Triangle seems to always come up.
Oh, Triangle. Widely lauded as a masterpiece. Brilliantly directed by Chris Carter, it was groundbreakingly shot in, real time, appearing as 4 uninterrupted 11-minute takes.
Technically amazing.
A feat of technical and directorial prowess. Mulder searches for a ship that disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle in 1939, finds himself trapped in the past on this WWII-era vessel, with oddly familiar faces playing different roles. Critics universally called it a classic, a highlight of Season 6. It exemplifies that creative risk-taking that paid off handsomely, showing the show could be innovative even without traditional monster stuff.
And Duchovny's episode, The Unnatural.
Right. Similarly, David Duchovny's independently written and directed episode, The Unnatural, tells that poignant story of Josh Exley, the alien baseball player hiding among humans in 1947 Roswell. Critics universally praised its plot, Duchovny's directing, its originality, calling his debut excellence and the ending heartbreaking.
It was a beautiful episode.
It really was. It showcased the potential of the new, more character-driven and emotionally resonant approach the show could take. Demonstrated that the LA move, for all its challenges, could also foster new creative energies.
Okay, but then there was the XFiles Lite debate. What episodes fueled that?
Right. Other episodes generated more debate, more criticism. The 2-part Dreamland episode.
The body swap, that Area 51.
Exactly. Mulder and Scully go to Area 51 leads to this profound alteration when Mulder swaps bodies with Morris Fletcher, played by Michael McKean. A truly comedic premise. These episodes, along with The Rain King.
The guy who controlled the weather for love.
That's the one. They were specifically criticized by some fans for their overt reliance on humor or lighter stories, earning the season that fan label XFiles Lite. And this raises that important question for you, our listener. Was the humor a necessary evolution to keep the show fresh after years of darkness? Or was it a dilution of the show's core identity that alienated its longtime fan base who came for the dread and the scares?
It's a tough balance. What other standalones stand out?
Well, beyond those, the season offered a really wide array of stories. How the Ghost Stole Christmas was this charmingly humorous Christmas Eve episode. Mulder and Scully stake out a haunted house, encounter 2 lovelorn specters played by Ed Asner and Lily Tomlin. A clear, delightful example of the season's lighter, more comedic approach.
That's fun.
Tithonus was a significant episode for Scully. She gets a chance to prove her worth at the FBI with a new partner, investigating a crime scene photographer with this uncanny knack for arriving just in time to see victims' final moments. She ends up encountering death itself, a more traditional, unsettling concept.
More classic X-Files feel.
Yeah. Monday, cleverly played with narrative structure, trapping the world in a time loop with a recurring bank robbery until a bombing is stopped. Very Groundhog Day.
I remember that one.
Arcadia saw Mulder and Scully go undercover as a married couple, Rob and Laura Peachy, in this idyllic planned community, only to discover the Homeowners Association president enforces covenants with supernatural force, another light, character-driven mystery, even Milagro.
The writer episode.
Yeah, where a writer next door to Mulder writes about murders before they happen, and Scully finds herself strangely drawn to him. That was noted for its romantic undertones, a significant shift for the show's dynamic. And for those who crave the old psychological thrills, Field Trip returned to a more classic X-Files psychological horror.
The mushroom episode.
The giant hallucinogenic mushroom. Mulder and Scully investigate skeletonized remains, fall prey to this giant fungal life form that releases an LSD-like drug, blurring the lines between reality and fantasy. That episode proved the show could still deliver unsettling, mind-bending concepts even with its new tonal direction.
So not every episode was a winner, right?
No, definitely not. Some standalones just didn't land as well. Some, like Alpha, which involved an Asian dog thought to be extinct. Critics called it run-of-the-mill monster of the week, suggesting a lack of the show's usual spark. Similarly, Trevor, featuring an inmate who could pass through conductive materials, was dismissed as the X-Files at its most generic. These mixed reviews indicate the challenges of consistently delivering compelling standalone stories under new production constraints and that changing creative mandate, and maybe the struggle to find its footing after such a significant relocation.
Okay, let's talk reception, ratings. Despite opening strong, Season 6 saw a notable drop in viewership, a trend that, unfortunately, would continue until the show's final year.
Yeah, the peak was probably around Season 4 or 5.
The premiere, The Beginning, garnered a robust 20.34 million viewers, which was actually an increase from the previous season's finale, The End, which had 18.76 million.
So a bump from the movie, maybe.
Could be. But it was a significant decrease from Season 5's own debut, Redux, which had truly massive viewership, hitting 27.34 million. So right from the start, a complex picture was emerging. Strong return, but not quite the juggernaut it once was.
This viewership data really reveals a shifting audience landscape, and perhaps the early signs of viewer fatigue, or maybe a direct reaction to the show's changing identity following the relocation. That initial bump from the film's success seemed to level off pretty quickly.
Did it keep dropping through the season?
Yeah, we can observe a steady decline throughout the season after its initial high. The Rain King, ironically one of those lighter, more humorous episodes, was the last episode to exceed 20 million viewers. It drew 21.24 million, which suggests that even if some fans found the humor divisive, a broader audience was still tuning in for it.
Interesting.
The season, however, hit its lowest point with the 18th episode, Milagro. Remember the Rider episode with the Scully romance undertones? That was viewed by only 15.27 million viewers, a clear sign of audience erosion. The season finale, Biogenesis, drew 15.86 million, representing a 22% drop in viewership compared to the season premiere and a 15.5% drop compared to the previous season's finale. So while the initial audience was large, it wasn't as sticky throughout the season.
But still, 15 million viewers is pretty huge by today's standards. How did it rank overall?
Oh, absolutely. Despite these drops, and it's important to put this in perspective, the season still ranked as the 12th most-watched television series for the entire 1998-99 season, with an impressive average of 16.39 million viewers.
12th overall? That's still massive.
It is, which raises that important question for us and for you, the listener. Was the decline simply a natural part of a long-running show that had perhaps peaked in its cultural dominance, experiencing inevitable fatigue after so many years? Or was it a more direct consequence of the dramatic production changes, the relocation, and those perceived tonal shifts that alienated some of its most loyal core audience?
What did the sources suggest?
Based on the sources, it's highly likely a combination of factors, where external forces amplified existing trends. The move, with its budgetary constraints and tonal changes, likely accelerated a decline that might have happened anyway, but perhaps more gradually.
And what about critical reviews? You mentioned mixed to positive, which sounds diplomatic.
Well, it covers a fairly wide spectrum. But it's clear from the feedback that some fans, particularly the dedicated loyalists who'd been with the show from the very beginning, were genuinely alienated by the new direction.
The Hollywood knees-dazing.
Exactly. They especially took issue with that, and the noticeable departure from the darker, more traditional Monsters of the Week style. They were actively looking for and missing that moody ambiance that Vancouver filming had offered, that unique atmosphere that truly defined the show for them.
It's that classic tension, isn't it, between creative evolution and deeply ingrained audience expectations.
Absolutely. When a beloved show changes its formula, especially one as distinct as the X-Files, it's bound to cause a stir, elicit strong reactions.
So, what were the main points of criticism?
Well, the shift to more romantic or overtly humorous standalone episodes, sometimes disparagingly dubbed X-Files Lite by fans on, the internet forums of the time.
Early internet days.
Right. That garnered specific criticism. Episodes like Dreamland and The Rain King, despite the latter's strong ratings, were pointed out for their reliance on humor or lighter stories, a distinct departure from the show's foundational dark roots, its sense of dread. Furthermore, some episodes were simply derided for perceived mediocrity or lack of originality. Alpha, the dog one, called run-of-the-mill. Trevor, the guy walking through walls, called the X-Files at its most generic.
Ouch.
Yeah. These critiques highlight that the new approach didn't always hit the mark, and some creative experiments yielded less compelling results for certain segments of the audience.
But there was praise, too, right? It wasn't all negative.
Oh, far from it. The season's third episode, Triangle, was widely hailed as an absolute masterpiece by critics. Its innovative real-time filming.
Those long takes.
Shot in 4 seemingly uninterrupted 11-minute takes, praised as a classic and a highlight of Season 6. Proved the show could still push creative boundaries, even with new constraints. The two fathers, one son mythology arc, destroying the Syndicate.
Yeah, that was intense.
Largely lauded. Called one of the most coherent and unbearably tense hours in the series run. Provided a satisfying, albeit violent, conclusion to a major storyline. And of course, David Duchovny's The Unnatural.
The baseball episode, again, seems like a real standout.
It really was. Received significant praise for its original poignant plot, excellent directing, profound emotional depth. Critics calling Duchovny's directing excellence and its ending heartbreaking. This highlights that while the overall tone might have changed, the show was still profoundly capable of delivering critically acclaimed, groundbreaking work that resonated deeply, demonstrated its continued artistic ambition.
And even with the shifting landscape, production, location, tone, the X-Files Season 6 still managed to earn some serious accolades, didn't it? Like Emmy nominations.
It did. It received 8 Primetime Emmy Award nominations, a true testament to its continued technical and artistic quality. And it even secured a win for Outstanding Makeup for a series for those pivotal mythology episodes, Two Fathers and One Son.
Nice.
Really underscores the show's unwavering commitment to visual excellence, even as other aspects were in flux. This shows that even amid significant production challenges and that period of audience recalibration, the show's technical and performance quality remained exceptionally high, consistently recognized and honored by industry peers.
Who got nominated? Anderson, Duchovny.
Gillian Anderson received her 4th and final nomination for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series for her nuanced, evolving portrayal of Dana Scully, cemented her place as a dramatic force. Veronica Cartwright also received her 2nd consecutive nomination for Outstanding Guest Actress in a Drama Series for her crucial, emotionally impactful role as Cassandra Spender, underscoring the powerful resonance of her performance in the mythology arc.
So the acting was still top-notch.
Absolutely. And beyond acting and makeup, the season garnered nominations across a wide range of technical categories. Cinematography for its visual storytelling, music composition for its iconic scoring, picture editing for narrative pacing, art direction for world building, sound editing for its immersive audio design.
Wow, pretty much covered the board.
These extensive nominations affirm its strong overall production values, the consistently high level of craft involved in every aspect of the show's creation, from the smallest detail to the grandest set piece.
Any Golden Globes?
Yes. This season was also notably the final time the series received Golden Globe nominations, with Gillian Anderson, David Duchovny, and the series as a whole being recognized in the drama categories. This reflects the show's continued critical standing within the broader television landscape, confirming its status as prestige drama even as ratings dipped slightly and its creative direction shifted. The industry still clearly saw The X-Files as a benchmark of quality and innovation, despite the changes it underwent.
And for those of you listening who want to revisit or maybe discover Season 6 for yourselves, it was released as The X-Files, the complete 6th season on DVD, giving fans a chance to own and re-experience this pivotal moment, along with, a deep dive into its making.
Yeah, the DVD release details provide a really comprehensive snapshot of how the season was packaged and presented for home viewing. Offers crucial insights into its legacy and the depth of its production, almost a secondary source in itself, really.
What was on the set? Just the episodes?
Oh no, much more. It was a robust 7-disc collection, presented in a 1.78:1 aspect ratio, optimized for widescreen TVs, with clear Dolby 2.0 surround audio. Thoughtfully included English and Spanish subtitles, too, ensuring broad accessibility.
But the special features are where the real gold is, right?
Absolutely. This is where the deep dive truly continued for fans who own this set. The collection was packed with bonus content, demonstrating the ongoing commitment of the franchise and its dedicated fan base, providing unparalleled behind-the-scenes access. It included a comprehensive Truth About Season 6 documentary, offering fascinating insights into the season's creation, the immense challenges of the relocation. A behind-the-scenes featurette gave more intimate glimpses into the production process. Fans also got illuminating audio commentaries for 2 key episodes. Triangle, by Chris Carter himself,
giving his vision,
offering his direct creative vision and the story behind its innovative filming. And Milagro, by Kim Manners, providing directorial perspectives on a more controversial episode, revealing the thinking behind its romantic themes.
Cool to hear from the directors.
Yeah. Plus, a wealth of raw production material. Special effects clips showing the magic behind the illusions. Deleted scenes, letting fans see cut content and understand narrative choices. detailed character profiles, and even promotional TV spots, giving a nostalgic look back at how the season was marketed. This extensive list of features just demonstrated the ongoing commitment to the franchise and its dedicated fan base. Provided context and behind-the-scenes glimpses that weren't available during the original airing, allowing viewers to truly understand the intricacies of this transformative season.
Wow. What an incredible deep dive into the X-Files Season 6. I mean, from the dramatic, fiery end of the Syndicate and the introduction of these new, more cosmic, often abstract threats, to the controversial, but ultimately, I think, creatively vibrant move to Los Angeles. This season was a true turning point for Mulder and Scully and the show itself. It certainly gave us plenty of aha moments about how profoundly external factors, from a star's personal life and career goals to the stark realities of currency exchange rates, can reshape a beloved series and its very essence.
Indeed. This season powerfully demonstrates how fundamental changes in production, particularly a geographical relocation that impacts everything from budgets to crew, even the show's visual palette, can profoundly influence the show's creative direction, its tone, and ultimately its reception from both critics and its dedicated audience. It's a fascinating, really complex case study in artistic adaptation under immense pressure, illustrating that even a wildly successful formula can evolve in unexpected ways, sometimes by necessity, sometimes by design, and maybe not always to the universal acclaim it once enjoyed, but always with lasting impact.
So, as you reflect on Season 6 and its profound shifts, deep divers maybe consider this. How much does a show's literal environment, its physical filming location, truly shape its identity and its enduring connection with its audience? Could the X-Files have possibly maintained its signature moody ambiance indefinitely if it had stayed in Vancouver? Or was this shift, with all its challenges and new opportunities, an inevitable, perhaps even necessary evolution for its longevity, even if it meant alienating some core fans in the process? Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about.
Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive. Until next time, keep digging for those nuggets of knowledge.